Most of us would never take a long trip without using some type of GPS in today's world. Whether it's Google Maps, Waze, Apple Maps, we want to know where we're going, how long it should take, where the traffic is, and whether there's a better route. And the best part is the GPS doesn't just give you one answer and disappear, it adjusts. If there's traffic ahead, it warns you. If there's an accident, it reroutes you. If you take a wrong turn, it recalculates. If you drive a little faster, it may show you getting there a little bit sooner. If traffic gets worse, it shows you that your arrival time may be delayed. That's exactly how we believe retirement income planning should work. Because retirement is not a straight road. There are detours, there are speed bumps, unexpected expenses, there are market crashes, tax changes, healthcare events. There are decisions you make along the way that can either improve the plan or put more pressure on it. That's why we don't just build a retirement income plan based on one perfect scenario. We stress test it. When we run a retirement income analysis, we're not just asking, can you retire? We're asking better questions like, what happens if the market performs worse than expected? What happens if the market crashes early in retirement? What happens if you want more income than you originally planned? What happens if you want to buy a second home? What if you need to help out your kids? What if healthcare costs rise? What happens if one spouse passes away earlier than expected? What happens to the surviving spouse's income and taxes? What happens if you do Roth conversions? What happens if you move assets around and make the portfolio more tax efficient? Because those are the questions that actually matter. A lot of people have statements, they have accounts, they have a 401k, an IRA, maybe a brokerage account, maybe some cash in the bank, but having accounts is not the same thing as having a retirement income plan. That would be like having a car with gas in the tank, a destination in mind, but no GPS telling you the best way to get there. You might still make it, but you might take the wrong route. You might hit avoidable traffic. You may waste time. And in retirement, those mistakes can be expensive. Our job is to help clients see the road ahead. Using our planning software, we can model different what-if scenarios so our clients can actually see how their plan may hold up. For example, let's say a client wants to retire and spend a certain amount each month. We can show them what that looks like under normal assumptions. Then we can say, okay, well, what if the market crashes, or what if the market does better than expected? That may show some extra flexibility, maybe more travel, maybe more gifting, more legacy, or the ability to spend with more confidence. But then we can also stress test the other side. What if the market does worse? What if the returns are lower? What if inflation is higher? What if the first few years of retirement look like 2008 or 2022, where we saw declines? That matters because a bad market early in retirement can be much more damaging than a bad market later, especially if you're taking income from that portfolio. And you can learn more about that on our sequence of return video. We can also test different spending decisions. What if you buy that beach house? What if you replace cars every few years? What if you take the family on a big trip every year? What if you want to gift money to children or grandchildren while you're alive? What if you take an extra $50,000 per year during your go-go years? So many retirees pass by their go-go years because they're afraid to spend and enjoy it early on for the fear of running out of money. But if it were modeled, how would that impact their life? Instead of guessing, we can model it, we can stress test it. And sometimes that answer may be, yes, you can do that. Other times the answer might be, you can do it, but we should adjust the plan. And sometimes that answer might be, that just puts too much pressure on the plan, so let's find a better route. That's the value. It's not about scaring people, it's about giving them clarity, because many retirees are afraid to spend money even when they have enough. They spent 30 or 40 years of saving, and then retirement comes and they're nervous to enjoy it. They wonder, can I really afford this? Am I spending too much? What if the market drops? What if I live too long? What if my spouse needs care? What if taxes go up? A good retirement income analysis helps answer those questions before they become problems. It also helps us look for planning opportunities. For example, what if your IRA is going to create large required minimum distributions later on? maybe Roth conversions make sense. But then we need to see the trade-off. Roth conversions may increase taxes in the short term, but they could reduce future taxes, reduce future RMDs, improve tax flexibility, potentially leave more tax-efficient money behind to your children, grandchildren, or causes that you care about. Or what if you have too much money in tax-deferred accounts and not enough in taxable or Roth accounts? That may limit flexibility later. What if your investments are not coordinated with your other incomes? Maybe the assets need to be structured differently so short-term income is not overly dependent on the stock market. That's where planning becomes more than just investments. It becomes a roadmap. And just like a GPS, the plan should update as life changes. If the market changes, we update. If the spending changes, we update. If tax laws change, we update. If your goals change, we can update the plan. The point is not to predict the future perfectly. Nobody can do that. And if they're saying, they're lying. The point is to stress test or test the plan against all different types of things that could happen so that you're not flying blind. So here's the question I would ask. Has your retirement plan actually been stress tested? Not just here's your investment allocation or here's your expected return. But has someone shown you what happens if life doesn't go exactly according to plan? What happens if the market crashes early? What happens if you want to spend more? What happens if one spouse passes away? What happens if taxes rise? What happens if you make proactive changes now? Because when you see those answers, retirement starts to feel very different. You're no longer guessing. You're not just hoping the road is clear. You have a roadmap. And when you have a roadmap that adjusts, stress tests, and shows you your options, you can make better decisions and have more confidence in spending the money that you worked so hard to save. Before life tests your retirement plan, let's stress test it first. Reach out to our team and we'll help you and show you how your income plan holds up against the real world and any concerns that you may have heading into retirement. We'll see you on the next one.